I'd like to start by thanking everyone for supporting the channel, especially my Patreon and YouTube members. And a special thanks to Raymond McFalone, who's kindly allowed me to use veteran interviews from his collection. He's done an amazing job of preserving these first-hand accounts, so if you're interested you can find more interviews on his channel. Link in the description.
I would say our missions average about 7.5 hours, probably pretty closely, 7.5 hours, which is a long time to sit in a B-17, particularly when it gets to be 55 below zero.
Was it boring at all?
It was boring, I tell you what, because a lot of times you get up and there was nothing but the clouds and the glare, very glary, and that's why if you look out at the engines, they're painted dark on this side, in the same way right up here it's painted that way, so there's not the glare, because you know we had to wear, everybody had these Ray-Ban glasses and we wore those, and there's a lot of glare, and it was just the same thing. You know how you drive in your car sometimes, you get sleepy, and a lot of times you can take a 5-minute
cat nap.
Yeah, and boy, you're great. And then I let him do it.
My co-pilot and I decided how we would do this thing. We flew alternatively 20 minutes in formation. So we'd hand off every 20 minutes to the other guy, which I felt had distinct advantages over the fellows who said, well, I'm going to fly it over and you can fly it back. Well, you're talking 7 or 8 hours of intense formation. I felt our way was better. We had our alternatives to doing that.
We knew where we were. We'd be over, the navigator could tell us, you know, we're now over France, or we're up on the North Sea coming in from the other side.
Would you ever use the automatic pilot?
No, I didn't like to use it. A lot of people would use it. Here it is down here, and you got to do all these things. And what I didn't like about it, you had to set it up, and then when you get it on automatic pilot, the minute you move out of your place, it throws it off kilter. But I want to be in control of what I'm flying, or my co-pilot. I didn't like it otherwise.
Do you even remember the first mission?
Yeah, oh yes, yes I do, and you know, that was our baptism to Flak.
Well, as you're approaching the target, you could see these black puffs just of smoke, and that means the shell was exploding. And when you got close to your airplane, you could hear it go whoop, and you could shake the airplane a little bit, and then if you didn't hear that, or in conjunction with that, you may hear brrr, which is the little flak pieces flipping through the aluminum.
It's scary. It's scary. I mean, when you realize that a lot of planes have gone down because of flak, there's nothing you can do about flak. Fighters, you can shoot it. You know, the gunners can shoot at the fighters and fight back. But flak, you just have to be hopeful that it doesn't hit you direct. I don't remember hearing it. You know, it sounds like throwing gravel against a tin siding building or something is what flak sounds like.
Of course, you have your flak suit and your GI metal helmet before as you approach the target, but so it's pretty tense time.
Flak is just maybe thumb size.
Pieces of metal?
No, it's just solid metal.
What does the explosion look like or sound like? Or?
It's just a big bang and some black smoke. That's all you hear. They're just pieces flying in all directions. That was the worst thing, was the flak.
They designed an 88mm cannon that they use on the tanks, on the ground, for everything, also for anti-aircraft. And these were 88mm shells that were flying, that were exploding. And the explosion is small pieces. If it gets you in the wrong place, the plane is gone. We always had holes, and I'll swear the stuff exploded vertically because all the holes we had were vertical, not horizontal. But on one mission when we landed, the crew chief came out and he handed me a little piece of my airplane about that big, and a piece of German flak that was stuck in it and had wedged in the bomb bays. He says, "You're going to want this as a souvenir." And I still got it. And the shrapnel is just a piece of steel.
The fuse in there is got a pressure sensor, and when it gets to a certain altitude they've set, and they probably, after a while, they know pretty much exactly where your altitude is. And then when the shell gets up there, it explodes.
You know, an anti-aircraft gun can fire a shell every 10 seconds and go to 25 or 26,000 feet and explode. And they preset the charge on the ground to explode at a certain elevation. It depends on what they see on their screen down here, the Würzburg, that's what they called it. And that's how they measured how they were going to, when they were going to let it fire.
But I learned what flak was like, and it's scary because it'd feel like if you could see the flak burst out, maybe, you don't know how far away, it could have been 100 yards, it could have been 50 yards, 100 feet, I don't know. But sometimes the aircraft would rock, but sometimes it'd feel as though someone would throw a handful of gravel against the aircraft. My co-pilot was frightened to death. He buried his head, and I couldn't blame him for it. But I got to thinking, well, we can't have this. When we got on the ground, we discussed it, and I asked him. I said, "Are you really scared in the flak area like that?" He said, "I'm petrified." And I asked him if he wanted to be grounded. He said, "No, I want to keep flying." Well, I didn't have the heart to recommend that he be grounded as long as he wanted to suffer through it. So I got the idea that probably if I let him do a little bit more of the flying in the flak area itself, when he flew in the formation in a flak area, he was all right.
On your first 18 missions, say, was your plane ever hit by flak?
Yes, it was. We had numerous sheet metal repairs over the weeks and months there, many times.
It was very reliable and durable. It could take a lot of punishment. You could knock part of a wing off or a tail or use a couple inches, and you could still go as long as it wasn't on fire. Whenever there's a fire on an engine or something, the best thing to do is to get out of there. That was my theory, and everybody else that was in B-17s that flew them. It was easier to fly than some of the other 4 engines that I won't mention.
But they had flak. It would, the tail gunner would always took his GI brogans off and put on heated boots, and his brogans would be right a few feet behind him, and they got some flak holes through those one day. But a lot of the flak came pretty close to everybody, but nobody got hit.
You can hear it rip through that metal, that aluminum, you know, that just like you're tearing a sheet of paper or something.
So the aluminum didn't offer a lot of protection?
No, there's not much there. You know, that goes through that pretty easy.
Huh.
I had a hunk come through one day and hit me right in the chest, but I had a vest on that for protection.
A flak jacket?
Flak jacket.
Huh. But you knew you'd been hit.
Oh yeah, it knocked me backwards. And I found that piece of flak, and it wasn't any bigger than your thumb. but it has a little force behind it when it hits you.
You would have to have been in close proximity to an 88 shell to understand the damage that could happen. I mean, the shells that they were shooting up blew up at our altitude because they could set them like that. And all that debris just tore the living daylights out of the aircraft.
I saw a lot of planes just get a direct hit and they'd just explode. So you knew everybody was gone. But you saw all kinds of things. I saw a guy try to jump out of a B-17 through the bomb bay and he opened his chute too soon. He was hanging there. The plane was on fire. You know, things like that. And it's pretty scary.
I saw one blow up and saw the wheels floating down. It was just like some of the landing gear floating down above us. You know? It was over Germany. We were near the target. Yeah. And I think it took another. Now I remember it took another plane with it, and the other plane was going down because I was looking out the waist, and the pilot was saying, "Can you see anything?" And I said, "I think I see they're throwing stuff out." And the bull turret gunner said to me, "They're not throwing stuff out, Don. That's guys bailing out." And what it was the guys were bailing out of the plane as it was going down. You know, you say it's not going to happen to me. You know, it won't happen to me. You know, I'll be lucky. You know, God will watch out for me. I'll be okay. You know.
I still see in my mind some of the young guys that died, and they stay the same. They don't grow old.
One of the planes with us had a system of jamming, that they could jam the flak guns on the ground. But we got lots of holes in our plane, so it might have worked for somebody, but it didn't do much good for us. The plexiglass, first thing, was blown out. You're sitting up in the nose, and not the whole thing, but we had some big holes in it. The instrument panel has a steel plate in front of it, so we won't lose all their instruments. And boy, it had a big dent in it from a piece of flak. I had, of course, a flak suit on, and a piece hit me, but it was like a catcher's mitt or something in a ball. Anyway, it wasn't a big enough piece to do damage, but I could feel it hit me.
We personally lost the nose of the plane with no damage to me. I don't know how it happened or how I avoided it, but a piece of flak glanced off the nose and put a hole in it about the size of your head. It didn't hit me. The plexiglass hit me. I had a flak vest on, and the plexiglass landed in my lap, sort of. And our engineer, who was a very resourceful guy, had an extra set of coveralls with him. So he and we stuffed out the coveralls through the hole, and we actually had suspenders blowing around out front.
Sure, that was a sight.
And it did hold the wind back.
I was going to say, there must have been a tremendous flow of air coming in.
Oh, there was, yeah. God, yes. It was really something.
Now, we had 1-inch bulletproof glass in the side windows and the windshield. And all of a sudden, a big chunk of flak hits my side window, and it cracks like a rifle, 30-06 going off right in my ear. And I can hear it through the interphones and everything. Scared the hell out of me. I look over there, and there's a big dugout chunk of glass. So it's not all the way through, but it's cracked and hurt. And of course, that scared me a little worse. And fear was constant, and stress. My hands used to sweat on the throttles. till the ice would form because it was 50 degrees below zero in there. I'd sweat under the arms till my jacket got snow white with salt down there, ruined my jacket. You'd be flying along and your gloves are on that thing and they've gotten moist and the steam starts coming up because it's so cold. You're watching that airplane up there and all of a sudden out of the corner of your eye you see steam coming up. God damn it, right away you think it's smoke. And fear hits you just total. And I can't describe it. And I don't know anybody that wasn't frightened or afraid.